You know, when people hear the phrase, the woman who walks away holds all the power, they often think it's about being harsh or emotionally detached. They assume it's a defense mechanism, a cold strategy to push people away. But that's not it at all. In fact, it's the opposite. The woman who walks away doesn't do so because she doesn't care. Quite the opposite. She walks away because she cares deeply. But the key difference is that she doesn't let her care for someone else compromise her own sense of self-worth. There's a powerful shift that happens when you realize you have the ability to walk away from something that no longer serves you. It's not a sign of weakness. It's not running away from love. It's running towards yourself. It's knowing that no matter what happens in a relationship, you're okay, you're whole, and you don't need anyone to complete you. Real power in relationships doesn't come from trying to control the other person, trying to change their mind, or forcing them to meet your needs. That's desperation. And we've all been there at some point, staying in situations because we're afraid of being alone, afraid of being misunderstood, afraid that no one else will come along. But what we often forget is that in those moments, we're losing ourselves. The more you try to control someone else's behavior or feelings, the more you surrender your own sense of peace. Here's the truth. The moment you realize you don't need anyone else to feel complete, that's when you unlock your true power. The woman who walks away holds all the power because she's not coming from a place of need. She's coming from a place of discernment. She chooses not to be part of something that drains her energy or compromises her peace. And the most incredible part, she's not afraid of the consequences. She's not scared that she'll lose everything. She knows deep down that she's worthy of more, and if the situation doesn't serve her, she'll walk away. Walking away doesn't mean you don't want to love or be loved. It doesn't mean you don't care deeply about the person. It means that you've reached the point where you understand that your emotional well-being cannot depend on someone else's actions or validation. You are valuable, and you refuse to let your self-worth be tied to how someone else treats you. It's that quiet confidence, the one that doesn't need to be loud or demanding. It's the kind of strength that comes from knowing you won't tolerate disrespect, and when something no longer serves you, you'll walk away. It's the ultimate power, not because you control someone else, but because you control yourself. You control your decisions, your energy, your life. The woman who can walk away isn't controlled by the fear of loneliness. She's not controlled by the need to keep a relationship going, even when it's clear that it's no longer fulfilling. She understands that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself and for the other person is to walk away, because in doing so, you're choosing yourself, you're choosing your peace, and when you choose yourself, you create space for the right things to come into your life. The power of walking away isn't just about knowing you can leave. It's about the energy you carry when you know you don't need to stay. When you walk away, you stop begging for breadcrumbs and start demanding respect. You stop waiting around for someone to see your worth, and you start showing them that your worth is not negotiable. Think about it. How many times have you stayed in a situation hoping it would change, only to feel exhausted, anxious, or unseen? When you keep pouring into something that's not reciprocating, you lose a part of yourself. The woman who walks away refuses to be drained. She knows her value, and if someone can't meet her where she is, she doesn't need to explain or defend her decision. She just walks. There's a shift that happens when you stop chasing. The moment you choose yourself, you stop the cycle of over-explaining, over-justifying, and over-compromising. The moment you stop chasing someone's attention, you create space. And that space, it's where your power lies. Because when you let go of what isn't serving you, you make room for what truly deserves your energy. And here's the thing, walking away doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough to let go of something that's costing you your joy, your peace, your energy. It's about prioritizing your emotional health over fear, your boundaries over compromise, and your peace over chaos. The woman who can walk away isn't afraid of solitude. In fact, she chooses it. She understands that being alone is far more empowering than staying in a relationship that diminishes her. The irony is, the more you stand firm in your self-worth, the more magnetic you become. People feel that energy. They sense when you've stopped begging for love or approval. They sense when you're no longer coming from a place of desperation. And that's when they start to step up. When you can walk away, you stop chasing validation. And when you stop chasing validation, you start attracting the people who are truly worthy of your time and energy. But let's be clear, this isn't about playing games. It's not about using walking away as a threat or ultimatum. It's about knowing that your life, your peace, and your well-being are more important than holding on to something that isn't right. It's about standing in your truth without apology, without fear. It's about saying, I know my worth, and if this doesn't align with that, I'll let it go. When you do that, you stop negotiating with your self-respect. You stop compromising for the sake of staying. Instead, you make the empowering decision to walk away. And by walking away, you take back your power. Now, some people might tell you that walking away is a sign of defeat, that you're giving up too easily or running from the problem. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Walking away is actually one of the most powerful decisions you can make. It's not about throwing in the towel. It's about recognizing when something doesn't honor you and making the conscious choice to protect your energy. In our society, there's this myth that love requires constant sacrifice. We're taught that to prove we love someone, we have to endure pain, compromise our happiness, or shrink ourselves just to make the relationship work. But the woman who can walk away understands that love is not about sacrificing your own sense of self to keep someone else happy. It's about choosing someone who values you for who you are, not someone who expects you to change to fit their needs. The real power lies in understanding your worth and knowing when to walk away from a situation that doesn't align with that worth. It's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. You're strong enough to say, I deserve better, and walk away from something that no longer brings you peace. The woman who walks away isn't afraid of being single. She's not afraid of losing someone who doesn't value her. She knows that if someone doesn't show up for her in the way she deserves, then they're not meant to be in her life. When you're willing to walk away from what doesn't honor you, you start to take back control of your life. You stop waiting for someone else to change, to meet your needs, to see your value. You stop pouring energy into someone who isn't doing the same for you. And here's the powerful part. When you stop waiting for someone else to make you feel valued, you realize that you can validate yourself. You don't need someone else to affirm your worth because you already know you are enough. This is where the real magic happens. When you walk away, you stop compromising your standards and start honoring your boundaries. You create space for what you truly deserve, relationships where there is mutual respect, understanding, and love. And because you've chosen to walk away from the wrong situations, the right ones can now enter your life. You've cleared the path for the kind of love that will uplift you, not drain you. And here's the kicker. When you stop chasing and start choosing, you become the prize. You stop competing for attention or affection because you know your value. People feel that energy. They feel when you've stopped giving your power away. And the people who truly appreciate you will rise to meet you at your level. The woman who walks away isn't just powerful because she chooses herself. She's powerful because she knows that by walking away, she's setting the standard. She's teaching people how to treat her, not with words, but through her actions. She's saying, this is what I deserve. This is what I will accept. And if you can't meet that standard, I will walk away. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, but what if I walk away and they never come back? That's a fear that many of us hold on to. The fear that by walking away, we're closing the door on something that could have worked out, that maybe with enough patience or time, things will improve. But here's the truth. If they don't come back, they weren't meant to. And if they do come back, it's not because you left, it's because they realized your worth. You see, walking away isn't about playing a game or using a tactic to get someone to chase you. It's about aligning yourself with your standards and values. It's about sending a message that you won't settle for anything less than what you deserve. If someone doesn't see your value and is unwilling to meet you where you are, walking away is not a loss. It's a win. You've freed yourself from an unbalanced situation and opened up space for something better, something more aligned with who you are and what you deserve. Let's be clear, walking away doesn't mean you don't love. It doesn't mean you don't want the relationship to work. It means you love yourself enough to choose your peace and your well-being over everything else. Walking away doesn't mean giving up. It means you are choosing to give yourself the love, respect, and energy that you deserve. It means that you're making a conscious decision to stop negotiating with your self-worth. In relationships, it's easy to get caught up in the idea of making things work, even when the relationship is no longer healthy. We tell ourselves, if I just try harder, if I just love more, if I just wait a little longer, things will change. But the reality is, nothing will change if both people aren't willing to show up equally. If you're the only one investing, the only one compromising, the only one making adjustments, then you're not in a partnership. You're in a one-sided relationship that's draining you. The woman who walks away doesn't wait for the other person to change. She doesn't stay hoping that things will magically get better. She chooses to honor herself by walking away from the chaos, from the emotional games, and from the uncertainty. She knows that staying in a toxic situation only prolongs the pain and keeps her stuck. But when she walks away, she opens up a new chapter, a chapter where she is the author, where she defines her worth, and where she doesn't settle for less than she deserves. Walking away from a situation that isn't serving you can be one of the hardest things to do, especially if you still have feelings for the person. But let me tell you this, it's also one of the most empowering, because when you walk away, you are saying, I choose me. I value myself enough to let go of what doesn't make me feel whole. I won't sacrifice my peace for someone else's approval or attention. The beauty of walking away lies in the transformation it creates, not just for the person you're leaving behind, but for you. When you make the decision to walk away from something that no longer serves you, you're not just rejecting that particular situation. You're rejecting the version of yourself who thought she had to settle, who thought she had to work harder to earn love, and who doubted her worth. In that moment, you're choosing to step into a higher version of yourself. You're embracing the power that comes from honoring your own needs, desires, and boundaries. What happens when you walk away is that you start to attract people who truly see you for who you are, people who aren't afraid to meet you where you are and treat you with the respect and care you deserve. You become magnetic, not because you're playing hard to get or trying to manipulate anyone, but because you've reached a place of emotional independence. You no longer need someone to complete you, and that makes you incredibly powerful. It's a kind of power that emanates from self-respect and self-love, not from trying to convince someone to meet you halfway. The truth is, when you stop chasing someone else's validation, you start to live for yourself. You no longer need to prove your worth. You start attracting people who are in alignment with your energy, people who don't require you to shrink yourself to make them feel comfortable. The woman who can walk away understands that she doesn't need anyone's approval to feel worthy. She knows her value, and that alone is enough to attract people who truly see her. But it doesn't stop there. When you walk away, you also give yourself the space to grow, to heal, and to reconnect with your own goals, dreams, and desires. You're no longer caught up in the drama or the emotional roller coaster of a relationship that's draining you. Instead, you create room for new opportunities to enter your life. You make space for growth, both as an individual and as a partner in future relationships. The real power lies in the choice to walk away from what doesn't serve you. It's in the ability to stand firm in your values and make the decision to leave behind anything that costs you your peace or self-respect. It's not about being afraid to love. It's about knowing that the right kind of love will not require you to lose yourself in the process. The woman who can walk away knows that true love is built on respect, mutual understanding, and shared values. She knows she's worthy of that kind of love, and she won't settle for anything less. You see, people who truly value you won't be afraid to show up for you. They'll rise to meet you at your level. They won't make you question your worth. They won't make you feel like you're asking for too much. And they certainly won't make you chase them for affection. They'll meet your energy, your effort, and your standards because they'll recognize your value without needing to be convinced. And that, in itself, is one of the most powerful things you can experience in a relationship. So, what does all this come down to? It comes down to the fact that the woman who walks away is the one who takes control of her life, not because she's manipulating anyone, but because she's taking full ownership of her emotions, her choices, and her future. She doesn't need to be validated by anyone outside of herself because she knows that her worth is inherent, not conditional. She's the prize, and she knows it. The beauty of walking away is that you stop depending on someone else to define your happiness. You stop looking for external validation and you start creating that validation from within. It's a subtle shift that completely changes the dynamic of how you show up in relationships. When you know your worth, you don't have to explain it, chase it, or beg for it. You simply live it. This is where the true power lies, the power of being in alignment with yourself. When you're in alignment with your values, when you're clear about who you are and what you need, you stop tolerating what doesn't meet those standards. You stop compromising your peace for someone else's comfort. And in doing so, you stop living in fear. You stop being afraid of being alone. Because when you walk away from something that isn't right for you, you make space for something better. You make space for the kind of relationship that aligns with your standards, your goals, and your vision for your life. The woman who walks away doesn't fear solitude. She chooses it over settling. She chooses herself over staying in a relationship that compromises her well-being. And in doing that, she holds all the power because she understands that the only person she's responsible for is herself. And when she chooses herself, she becomes magnetic to the right people, the ones who will meet her at her level, who will rise to meet her energy, and who will respect her boundaries and her worth. When you stop chasing love, when you stop begging for someone to see your value, you stop feeding into the fear and insecurity that can cloud your judgment. You begin to trust that the right person will recognize you for who you are and meet you where you stand. And if they don't, that's okay. The woman who can walk away understands that rejection isn't a reflection of her worth. It's simply a sign that the person wasn't ready to give her the kind of love she deserves. In the end, walking away isn't about defeat. It's about freedom. It's about knowing that your happiness and your peace come from within. It's about choosing not to stay in situations that cost you your peace, your joy, and your self-respect. It's about standing firm in your value and walking away when something no longer serves you. And in doing so, you create the space for the kind of love, the kind of connection, and the kind of life that truly honors who you are. So, the next time you find yourself questioning whether or not to walk away, remember this: you are worthy of love, respect, and happiness on your terms. And when you walk away from what no longer serves you, you aren't losing anything. You're gaining everything. The woman who can walk away holds all the power because she has chosen herself first. And that's the most empowering decision you can ever make.